Welcome to this very special episode of Actors 2020 podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Keatth, and today we're going to be talking to women in the industry over 50 years old. We have two very special guests today. The first one, she might fly like a butterfly or sting like a bee. Her name is Lauretta Ali. And even though this is not her quote, these are things that she wants you to remember. Dance as though no one's watching. Love as though you have never been hurt before. Sing as though no one can hear you, and live as though heaven is on earth. Now, let's give Miss Ali, Lauretta, a call and see what she has to offer you. And here we go.
Hello.
Hello, Lauretta. It's Johnny Keatth from Actors 2020 podcast. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm awesome.
Good.
So the acting business, what made you even want to get in the acting business in the first place?
Well, to be honest with you, I spent time as a foster child when I was young, and one of my foster mothers used to watch all these soap operas, As the World Turns and all this stuff, you know. And I think I was about 4 then, so I was home with her for a bit, and from the time I saw the acting, I was really interested in it. But then when I moved in later on at 8 years old with my mom, she used to watch all these old movies with Betty Davis and Joan Crawford and all. And I used to just dream that that's something I could do. In fact, I was a latchkey kid while she worked. You know, my brother and I had to stay home by ourselves. So when my brother was outside playing, I used to take 2 spoons and put them in the door. You know how you just lock the door? So when somebody used the key to get in, they couldn't get in. And then I would get this hairbrush, like a microphone, and put the music on and pretend that I was a singer, you know, because I really didn't realize I really was an actor. I just wanted to act the song. And then when somebody came home, I snatched the spoons out the door so they could turn the key, you know, and hid the spoons in my pocket. But those were all little dreams I had as a child, that I knew that there was something different about me that wanted that. You know. So
what was your first taste of it? What was your first thing? Extra work, theater, or what?
Well, actually, my first opportunity was with Norman Charles, and he had what was called the Theater of Renewal in Manhattan, and that was in the 70s. And he taught me improv acting, and he was really a joy. This was a man who I had no idea until later on how really fantastic he was, because he taught me improv acting. And what happened was that there was a young man, I was playing the role of a prostitute, and he hit me on my rear end in the improv, and I acted up really bad. So Mr. Charles said, you can just have a seat out there on the chairs and watch us perform, because you don't come out of character because somebody does that to you. Use that. I said, no, he can't touch me. He said, no, you're wrong. He can do whatever he wants to do. You're wrong. What you should have done was use that and turned that around. Even if you wanted to say that in the scene, you can't touch me. He said, but you can't just start going off and acting up, wanting to fight in the scene because you took it personally. He said, I knew it wasn't acting, it was personal. So I learned so much from Mr. Charles in terms of what to do on stage and how, when situations come up, to turn it into something that works. And also that you don't need a script a lot of times. You can use your imagination.
How old were you back then?
I was in my 20s, probably about 24, 25. But what his teaching led me to start my own production company in New Jersey. And I started what was called the Regal Roots Theater for the Performing Arts. And I started teaching improv acting to other actors, even though I was young.
Oh, wow. So you were starting to give back right away.
Exactly. Right from the beginning, because what was happening was I was a New York actor auditioning in New York, and I was what Spike Lee always said, actors go through so much because, you know, you're the wrong size, the wrong age, a lot of times the wrong anything to get cast, and I fit that whole category because I was not the ingenue. I was full figured. I was very, very light complexion, so it was hard to match me with other people of other African Americans. So I was always too short, too fat, too everything. So I had to really create my own work rather than come home all the time crying because I didn't land the audition and feeling bad about myself. I just started my own theater. And where I could work.
It seems like this is the only business where they can say, you're too tall, you're too short, you're too fat, you're too white, you're too black, you're too this, you're too that.
That's right.
And they can get away with it.
That's exactly correct. And you can also think that you don't have it. When I finally decided to get some training, I was a poet in the late 70s in New York, and somebody came to see me do a poetry performance, and he said, "Have you ever thought about acting?" And I said, "No." He said, "You need to think about it." And I said, "Well, I don't really want to be involved in that because I was a political poet walking around with my hair in braids and wild and political and just crazy. So I didn't want to think about acting. But then I moved to Washington, D.C., and someone invested in my first year as going to acting school. And it was a really trying time for me because I was so different. I was older than a lot of the students that was there. I was picked on a lot of times, and I was angry because I said, I think I'm just going to end up in jail rather than on stage. Because I was like, I'm not going to be called too many fat, not supposed to have the role type people much longer without really losing my temper. But it taught me, I had an instructor who said to me, because I stopped going to school. I was upset, so I just took off. I didn't come back, and she called me up. She said, "Why are you not at class?" I said, "Because they pick on me." But she said, wait. You didn't give yourself that talent. That talent was given to you by a higher person. You don't even have the right to decide that you're not going to use it. Get your butt back to class. And I was like, who are these people calling me? Everybody was calling me, get back in. Why are you feeling sorry for yourself? But that was one of the best things that could have ever happened to me because I never looked back.
Wow.
Even if I heard no, I just kept on going.
Wow, is that where you did the roles there in the Ford Theater in the Kennedy Center there in Washington, the marriage proposal?
Oh, yeah. I had a wonderful teacher at the theater school when I started going for acting. And when I was with her for my first year that I was there, I was so nurtured because she was a nurturer. And I remember first she said, "Everybody get up and do a monologue." I said, "I don't have a monologue. I have a poem." And I did the poem, and the whole student body stood up and cheered. And she said, "Oh, you think you really somebody?" Because I had on these green pants and a purple top. And she said, "Look at her. She looks like a lilac, and she even has a green stem." And I didn't like her. I said, "I can't stand her." But what she taught me was I had to bring you down a peg or two because there would be nowhere for you to go if you thought you were all of that.
Yeah.
Because my first semester with her, I said, "How come I didn't get an A? How come I got a B plus?" And she said, "Well, if you get an A, you don't have nothing to strive for." And I said, "This woman, Ellie Chamberlain, I don't think I'm going to like her." But, I just grew to adore her because she believed in me so much. That carried me. I've met people, I've had directors and instructors that really took the time to nurture me and tell me that it doesn't matter what you look like, who you are. Because she was one of the people that said, I just got cast to only have 15 minutes on stage. She said, "There are no small roles, only small actors who don't want to play them."
I know what you're talking about, though, because I used to go to the Beverly Hills Playhouse, and I finally got up to work with the best actor. And I don't know what happened. It was either his off day, he made me look good, or maybe I was just good, and I was just waiting for my praise. And the exact same thing happened to me. Instead of him praising me and telling me, he just went right into the things that were missing. And I kind of got offended, like, wow, that's the best I ever did. Where's my praise? And they record the conversations. And I went back and listened to it later. And I was out of line. I should have just shut my mouth and listened to him because they're trying to take you to the next level.
Exactly.
So it seems like you got a lot of theater experience. Can you tell me about the Times Square transfer where you played the dance there?
Oh, that was really wonderful because what happened was that I got cast. My late husband was a percussionist and a musician, and we performed together as Poetry and Skins for all of our 23-year marriage until he died of cancer, stage 4 liver and gallbladder cancer. So we performed together, and that was another thing. He believed in my talent. He said, "If you can't work, we're going to create work."
Nice.
I went to audition, and the woman who auditioned me took a liking to him because he was very tall.
Okay.
And she said, "I'll cast both of you if he'll be in it." So I'm thinking, oh, my God, this is a guy that can't stand acting. Every time I go for an audition, he's there. He always get picked for something.
That's funny.
So I couldn't dance, but he, being a musician, he could really dance. I mean, especially Latin music. Even though he was African-American, he played conga, which is the Afro-Cuban drum. So he knew all the Latin dancers and everything. They just loved him. They kind of tolerated me. But we were good together in that movie. And that was a number of the roles that I would get. I got a role one time in the movie called Satan Claus.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, that was through Talent Connection, who were my agents at the time in New Jersey. And what I learned about taking roles as an actor is not to choose work that I'm going to be sorry that I'm in later.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I
So
do.
sometimes you have to say no, because my whole goal was how I'm gonna get my SAG card. When am I gonna get picked? And I just drove myself crazy with that. When am I gonna be union? It just really, I made myself miserable for years trying to force that.
And now it's almost a disadvantage getting into SAG because so many things is non-union. 1 out of 10 commercials is SAG. The other 9 are non-union.
Exactly. My work, when I moved from New York to New Jersey, from New York to Georgia.
Right.
My career really took off.
Uh-huh.
I did more print modeling. I had acting jobs. I bought my first car right off the lot from an acting job in Georgia.
Wow.
And just walked in the lot and just got my Honda right off because I saved every dime.
That's awesome.
As soon as I got cast and they were like, we're going to pay you X amount of hundreds for rehearsals, X amount of hundreds each. And then they asked me this, the writer and the playwright and the director, will that satisfy you? And I said, oh, yeah. But when I got outside, I poked my face.
Try to play it cool.
I said, oh, my God. All I saw was my car. I said, I'm getting me a car. I just knew it. So I always I always think about where I came from as a foster child, how I grew up, the things I went through in foster care, and it hurts sometimes. But you realize you wouldn't have ever gotten through that had you not gotten to where you are, had you not went through who you were.
That's true.
I can't be angry with, I can feel bad, but at some point I had to let it go about my parents, how I got there, because all I realized was surviving. Now, through foster care, my brother, he didn't make it because what happened to us in foster care stayed with him and it ate at his heart. So he died of a heart attack at 37.
Oh, my gosh.
Me, I raged. I was just like I just survived. I was like waiting for the next shoe to drop, looking over my shoulder, waiting for someone. So I had a chip on my shoulder for years until I wrote my book, Survival of the Fittest, One Child's Life in the Foster Care System. And once I wrote that book and my late husband and I saved the money to have it printed, and I went around doing book signings in New Jersey and talking to people, it was like such a relief to get it out.
Yeah, it's like therapy.
Because other than that, I just carried it, know. But my mom was, when I said I wanted to be an actor, she said, as much as you run your mouth, be a lawyer, at least you'll get paid for it. And I was really hurt because she just would not support me until I produced my own first play. Like I told you, I had my first theatrical company when I was in my 20s. And she sat in the audience and I played the role of a man.
Wow.
And when I did it and came down the aisle by her and acted directly to her, she laughed until she cried. But that was the turning point for her, because other than that, she wasn't supportive. But I'll tell you something that happened to me in Georgia. Oh, yeah, I had a great career. But, Georgia changed a lot because now this is the film empire of the United States. So a lot of actors are caught up, and I don't even care if they hear me say that because they already know how I am as somebody who has my own production company. I realized that we're not bringing talent like we did in California, like we did in New York, like we did in Washington. We're bringing ego. And that's a real rough way to I've said to actors, if you're not Russell Crowe and you're not Denzel Washington, don't come to me with this nonsense about I'm in the union. Bring something to the table that we can be proud of and learn about teamwork and ensemble acting and caring about your fellow actor. Because I think I was at the Rialto, and that's a huge theater in Atlanta. And I was waiting backstage to take my little bit part that somebody was kind enough to give me. And I was sitting there waiting, and I said, this is the very last time I'm going through this nonsense. And I just started my own production company in Atlanta. And I went on to write plays and work that. And it gave me a way to be able to perform and not have to do work that I wasn't proud of. Because there's nothing worse than going to a movie premiere, sitting in the audience, eating your popcorn, and there are scenes that come up on the screen that you weren't there when they shot them, and your husband is sitting next to you rolling his eyes because we have friends in the back that are going, what kind of movie was that? And I'm like, oh my God, I wasn't, so then when you want to start choosing work, and which everybody has a choice, because I'm not, whatever anybody chooses is fine, but I decided I want to choose work that means something. So I remarried in 2014, somebody who was my closest friend, and he and I started a nonprofit called On the Spot Edutainment Corporation. So that's a spinoff from our parent company, which was mine. And what we do is we use uncomfortable topics like bullying, domestic violence and we use theater, music, spoken word. So then he's also a conguero and a percussionist, so he's able to play his music and I'm able to act, but we do something for the community. So now I'm not worrying about at 67 whether I'm going to make the union. Now we still both audition because he gets a lot of print modeling jobs.
Nice.
And then I also still get cast and acting jobs in Georgia, but I'm not hungry like that.
Right.
I'm not starved for it. I've learned that, and it took me so many years to do it, that I don't have to make myself miserable just to be on stage. I don't have to prove to anyone the talent that I didn't even give myself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to prove that. So my prayer is that people who come from a struggling background like me, I'm an old project kid. My mother raised me in the project, got us in foster care, and put us in one of the first projects that was ever built in Paterson, New Jersey, a place that I pray I never have to see again in my entire life. God bless whoever's there, but I pray I never have to go back there. But, you come from that and you just keep going and you say, listen, when I look at myself now, my brother passed away from what we went through. I could be with him, but no, I said there's something more, and I just always been a fighter. So whoever, an actor or an actress, anybody with talent, just don't give up. The first person to believe in is yourself. You can't worry about whether somebody else believes, because if you believe in you, so many other dreams will come true, turn into goals, and before you know it, but shooting to be the next Broadway star. I feel sorry for anyone who doesn't have a plan B where their talent is concerned.
Right.
If you don't have a plan B,
I love the name of your production company, Lali. Is that how you say it?
Lali Productions. I took it from my name, Lauretta Ali.
Uh-huh.
Lali Productions. It was I'll tell you something. I hired actors, and they would say to me, why are you not in the union? And I said, because they didn't give me permission. I didn't need their permission to produce this play or to pay you. I didn't get anyone, so, because they wanted to challenge me and saying, well, if you were worth your salt, you would be in. I said, no, see, I'm worth this because I raised the money to hire you. So if you don't want to be in this production for that door swings both ways. And I learned that because a lot of times when I cast people, here's their famous line for me. Can you introduce me to Tyler Perry? I said I could if I was looking for him, but I'm not. And truly, he's not looking for me, and I don't have no problem with that. But, either you want to, see, if you're looking to be in something so somebody can take you to meet a star, that is an incredible thing. I mean, what are you saying about your own creativity? Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. You're as a creative person, is that all you have to give as an actor, that you are waiting to meet the next person that can take you to stardom rather than what you can give to your audience.
Wow. Hey, can you talk a little bit about Bullying, A Shameful Dilemma, the documentary that you produced?
Oh, yeah. That movie, I wrote a play on Billie Holiday that I really wanted to get produced, that I wrote in 1984. And this young man who played my son in a play that I produced in 2010 said, Miss Ali, can we do he's 15 years old now, 14 when he started the project, or maybe even a few months younger than that. But anyway, in 2010, he asked me if we could do a documentary on bullying rather than my next play. And I said, but why? He said, because we're having a huge problem. Now, that was back then,
wow,
in 2010. Okay, what he did was I said, I don't have any money for that. He said, my parents will finance it. Okay, so his mother took all the pictures. His father shot the video, and I interviewed people all over Georgia, those who bullied and those who had been bullied.
That was my next question.
And then Quint took that footage. That young man edited on Windows Media.
Nice.
Spent his whole summer, finished it by the time he was 15, and then we started showcasing it at different schools. Because the dilemma of bullying, I mean, when we did that, nobody wanted to listen to us, but at that time, people were kids were shooting them, taking overdoses, and it was a lot. But like it is now in 2019, 2018 alone, the deaths have of the ages have dropped to 10 through 14, and their choice of death is by hanging.
Wow, that's true. Yeah.
They're hanging, and people are just turning I said, we're working hard as we can to raise money for cameras so we can shoot part 2, Bullying, a Shameful Dilemma Revisited, so that we can show how bullying, the disease, because that's what it is, a social disease, how it has increased death since the first time we shot that movie and was showcasing it in 2012. Now here we are 7 years later.
They got social media to come at you now, too.
And using text messages. I got left back in the 4th grade because I was tired of fighting every day about I was short, wore glasses, didn't have the right clothes, too fat. Every day it was something, and me and my brother were fighting back to back just to go. I said, you know what, I'm not even going. So we didn't even go for the rest of the year. And his teacher promoted men, but me, I got left back, and my mother was livid.
Wow.
But I couldn't stand. I think I was more sensitive to that. Maybe, I don't know why. Well, I do know that the coloring is what really, being called names about my skin color. That I find that total, even as an adult now, I just find that as crushing. The things that the kids are hurting each other, who's gay and who's not. How what you worrying about somebody's gay for? Is
oh my God.
Really your business?
It's like enough already. Who cares?
Really your business? If that child is going through what that child is, because that's the community we really want to interview in our new movie, because no child should have to die because somebody thinks he or she is whatever that is none of your, go to school. Leave people alone.
It's tough when you're young, especially you may be a girl with long, beautiful hair, but you may identify as a guy.
That's
how do you
right.
make that transition?
That's right.
And I didn't know much about that, and I actually have a family member that I used to have a niece, and now I have a nephew, so I definitely get it. And what are you gonna say when it's someone you love? You see it on TV and you have an opinion, but then when it happens to you, you get really quick.
Exactly.
So you've done a lot of theater, you've done TV, film, you've written books, you've produced. So one thing before I ask you the next question, it says you can do a Caribbean dialect. Can I hear a little bit of that?
Was that he said that he would come back for me, but I don't understand why I never saw him again. Oh, I know it was because he told me the nice this and the nice that, but it's okay. He goes his way, and me, I go mine.
That's awesome. So what's next for you? What's your future looking like in the next 2 to 3 years?
I'm praying that my nonprofit, On the Spot Edutainment Corporation, will have grown so that as the executive director, I'm no longer working almost 60 hours a week for free,
mm-hmm.
and that we've become pretty much grant worthy, that I will have a salary. My dream is not that I become a famous actress on stage. That's not it. I dream that my company, either the parent company, Lolly Productions, or On the Spot, takes off to where I will be able to perform whenever I want. I don't have to be wealthy. I don't have to be rich, but just be able to be on stage whenever I want to. So I'm just praying that the projects that we're working on, our company, and really what I'm real praying for is that we have great cameras, because both of us know how to use it, but not the money to pay for them.
Right.
But we know that eventually we have faith. It's going to come together.
That's true.
And we're going to get financed. And we're going to make the documentaries that we want to make.
Great. So if somebody wanted to donate or somebody wanted to get a hold of you, what would be the best place for them to go?
They could go to onthespotedutainment.com. That's all they have to put on there. But don't forget to say not entertainment. It's On the Spot Edutainment, EDUTAINMENT.com.
Thank you so much for being my very special guest today, Lauretta. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to me, and thank you for caring, and maybe you be blessed with much success because what you're doing for people, you have to be quite a remarkable man. Thank you so much.
And thank you for that. I really appreciate talking to you today. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, dear.
Thank you so much, Lauretta Eiley. You were amazing. So we have a little extra time here, and I wanted to answer some of your emails. A lot of you people wrote in and says, what is Another Day in LA? Well, Another Day in LA was a short documentary that I produced back in the turn of the century in 1999. Another Day in LA is behind the scenes look at what an actor goes through before they get their big break. We entered it in a few film festivals, and we won and placed in the top 10 of one of the first online film festivals. It was called the Indie Kino International Film Festival, IIFF.Y2K. And we placed in the top 10, and they sent us an award, and instead of a trophy, it was a Korean mask. I just love it. It hangs on my wall, and that's what this podcast is based on. And after Another Day in LA, I did a radio show for 2 years called Johnny Keath's Actors Radio. We were live in Hollywood every Sunday night with movie news, industry reviews, box office totals, and more with my wife, Princess Denise, and my friend, Big Time Phil. It was a live studio. It was perfect. We really enjoyed doing it for 2 years. We had a beautiful studio. It was live, and it was a lot of fun. And I still have every episode on tape. We did about 100 episodes. That's why 20 years later, when the podcasting came out, we decided to continue with Another Day in LA. Continue with Actors Radio. But we call it Actors 2020 Podcast. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So you know what time it is? It's time for the lesson. Be sure and listen to the words. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Actors 2020 Podcast. I'm Johnny Keatth, your host, where we promote one actor at a time. If you're an actor and you would love to be promoted, just contact us at actors2020podcast@gmail.com. Now we're going to end this episode, like we end every episode, with something called The Lesson. Because life is a bitch. Gee, really? Why don't you tell me something I don't already know? Cause everywhere I go, people tell me what to do. Hey, go to church, go to school, you treat me like a fool. Now, I don't need religion, culture, or class. You don't like that fact? Well, you can kiss my ass. Yeah, I'm white and I rap. You got a problem with that? Loosen up. And don't be so uptight, take it easy, E. We got the whole night, yes, I'm psyched. I'm ready to get the show on the road. I don't want to stop, cause I just might explode. I'll tell you what, home slice, I'm twice as nice than any bad boy rapper called Vanilla Ice. My lesson, yeah, it's hip. In case you didn't know what I'm here to inform ya, I'm better than snow. I don't moonwalk or dunk like these Michael J's, but I can hold my own. You hear what I say? Now listen, learn, cause here comes the lesson. Lesson 1. Everybody sit down. JK is gonna take you for a ride uptown. Yo, this is the story of the Hollywood game. Choose your path careful, you're the only one to blame. Now when it comes to pot, crack, tweak, or blow, stick to the rules and just say no. Because you're young, you're eager, you want in the movies. Don't think you'll get there by giving up the booty. Cause they'll use you, abuse you, throw you out like trash. And then you'll discover that you're out of cash. Now your heart, your soul is somewhere on the shelf. And you're walking through the streets now talking to yourself. The lesson. Well, you heard lesson 1, it's time for lesson 2. You have a choice and the choice is up to you. I came to Hollywood to be a rich and famous star, but for now I'm waiting tables and I'm tending someone's bar. Pictures, classes, agents, where the hell does it all end? Every time I turn around, I'm starting over again. I finally got a break with a 5 line and under. My life was starting to roar like lightning and thunder. The phone rings, hello? I'm cast in a pilot. My life spun out of control just like an LA riot. I walked off the set, said to hell with this, oh man. The phone's not even ringing and my life is in the can. The lesson.
Yeah, final lesson here, of course it's number 3. Now remember, I'm an actor to be or not to be. When the going got tough, I climbed into the bottle. I'm back on my feet now, revving my throttle on the climb to the top. It's the same old games. Now I'm kicking ass and I'm taking some names. Clawing, scraping, screaming, that was a long, hard crawl. But it was all worth it, I'm a box off the straw. Opportunity was there when I took it with a punch. Not now, baby, but let's do lunch. There's a big piece of pie and you should grab your portion. You can be like me, enjoying fame and fortune. Boom! That's the lesson. Go and learn it. It's the lesson. Go and learn it. It's the lesson. Peace out.
That, my friend, is a wrap.